Hola, padrinos and madrinas. This is horribly cringy. What is wrong with me? Welcome to a new video for you guys today on the See the Chord YouTube channel. Hey guys, it's Either Chord here, and welcome to a new video for you guys today. For today's video, we're going to be talking about a certain group of people within the furry fandom that we can't particularly group to see who's a part of it, and we're going to kind of today trying to decipher who's really a part of this certain group that's kind of a topical kind of generation or demographic of people within the world right now. And that is known as boomers. Yes guys, we're going to be talking about boomer furries. Now, for some people that might not know exactly what a boomer is, to give a little bit of an explanation as to exactly what baby boomers are, they're pretty much a group of people that were born in between the years of 1946 and 1964 during the post-World War II baby boom. Because right after World War II, when everything was happy and nice again, people just started popping out babies like crazy. I think like the average family had like 5 or 6 children at the time. It's insane. Both my grandparents on both my sides of my family had at least 5 siblings. It's crazy. Now, the reason I'm making a video about boomers within the furry fandom is because you'll typically see furries that are in their early to mid 20s make up the most people within the furry fandom, because those are typically who attend the con, and who makes the artwork, and who makes the fursuits and all. And then the next big demographic is usually like the teenagers, which are usually the 10 to late teen demographic before they turn 18, to make up another decently small portion of the fandom that's not too small, but not as big as the 20-year-old demographic. And then you have another demographic that's a little bit older that's still kind of involved, but not as much as 20-year-olds, which are like usually late 20, early 30, mid 30-year-olds. They're like a smaller demographic, but they still make up a decent portion in my opinion. Those are usually the ones that you'll see where the furries tend to have like a 5 or 6-year-old child with them, typically. And they're still a little bit involved with the fandom, but not as much because they have a kid to take care of. But then outside of that range from usually like 10 years old to 32 to 35 years old, you'll tend to see like no other furries, at least in my personal experience, because usually they're not really that capable of using the internet before the age of 10. I don't know. There's some kids I hear that are using it at 6 or 7, but not really getting involved with furries until about 10 or 11 or so. And then after 35 or so, they tend to have their own children to take care of, or their own like careers and pathways in their life to take care of. They don't have time for being a furry. So usually outside of that age range, you're not going to really see any furries at all that are 35 plus or below 10 years old. But however, there are a few rare cases where you will see people who are over the age of 35 be a part of the fandom. But don't get me wrong, they are rare. The oldest I've ever seen of a furry within this community was about like 42, 43, maybe 45. I'm not exactly sure, but definitely within the early 40-year-old range. But past 45, I've never seen someone that was either pushing on 50 or 60 being involved with the fandom, because let's be honest, it would be kind of weird. I'm not saying I'm against people who are about 40 or 50 years old to get involved with the fandom, but it's a little bit more difficult for people within that age range to really mix with people that are like 20 or 30 years old, because there's just a huge life experience difference, and you just really can't really relate that well with people that are way too different and older than you. Maybe there's an exception for a very close friend or a family member, but typically even for myself, it's natural to, since I'm 20 years old, to not really mix well with someone who's 50 or 60, or for a 40 or 50-year-old not to really mix well with like an 80 or 90-year-old, if that makes sense. So again, I'm not saying it's not doable, I'm just saying it's not really that common, because it's just part of like human nature to really not mix well with people that are too much in difference of age to hang out with and interact with. Because you can't really relate that much with like life experience and things that are going on in your life, because 20 and 30-year-olds are doing way different things than 50 and 60-year-olds. Like 20 and 30-year-olds are still kind of enjoying the height of their life and doing what they want without the worry of parents or children, and 50 and 60-year-olds are either worrying about kids or grandkids. So it makes sense. Now, before I go any further into this topic, I want to take a second to do a little mini rant on baby boomers. Not saying I hate all of them. I don't want to say this applies to everyone who's a baby boomer, but I need to vent this because there have been some baby boomers, oldie people in my life that have made me want to do a little bit of rant, and I'm going to give it for you guys today because I can do this. This is my YouTube channel. So bear with me here. Let us begin. I just want to say, baby boomers, I'm not denying you guys had to deal with some really crazy stuff when you guys are growing up. Cold War, Vietnam War, and all. But I really don't like that some of you guys like to pin as if like people who are like 20 somethings or teenagers, as if like, oh, your generation's doomed, or you guys are corrupting society, or you guys are on your smartphones all the time. And it's just annoying because I don't see like smartphones as being that big of a deal. It's just a different way of learning. Like, people don't read physical books anymore to get their education. People are reading smartphones or Kindles to get their information. Some people are still buying books, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people are using smartphones to get their information. It's a great task, and I won't deny some of us spend too much time on it, yeah, but not all of us, and that's kind of more so, in my opinion, just a stereotype. Me, at least personally, I use my cell phone a lot to look up stuff I need to use for videos, and I also use it for researching on things I like, and I like to read books on my phone sometimes. And also another thing, how you guys complain about how our music sucks and everything like that. I won't deny that music is way more simplistic now these days as it used to be back then, but the thing is that's different, as I notice, is that music these days is now more so focused on rhythm, and back then it was more on melody. And you guys can have your whole rock and roll from back when you guys were growing, because that was like your rebellious thing, like for the baby boomers and everything. Rock and roll is fine, but at least for us, when we have like, you know, TikTok or whatever kind of platform or way of making music these days, that's just our thing. You guys are like, oh, music's too simplistic or something like that, or our music was better. So what, okay? Just because we like music that you guys think is like dumb or something like that, that's not going to corrupt us. That's not going to lead to the downfall of society or whatever. And now to another thing that you guys think is a downfall of society is that all of you baby boomers just think that, okay, I'm calling myself out in post editing. I shouldn't have said all baby boomers think this way. I just think it's a certain few people I've interacted with personally who think this way. I shouldn't stereotype the entire generation of people. My bad, just calling myself out before I get called out in the comment section. I'm sorry, guys. The people who are 20-somethings are nothing but a bunch of communists and everything. Like, I'm just tired of them hearing like, oh, you guys don't want to work, or you guys are nothing but a bunch of communists, and you guys just, like, the whole world's gonna collapse and everything, and the downfall of Western society is ending soon. And I'm just like, okay, boomer. I'm not going to go more too political into this because I know it's going to cause a whole roundup in the comment section, but it's more so just like, I don't hate baby boomers. It just annoys me that some of them just think that they're way better than millennials and Gen Zers so much and everything in every way, shape, or form, and that we're dooming society, which in my opinion is not the case. I don't think that baby boomers doom society either. Who knows? Like, once us that are like 15-year-old or 20-something-year-olds, once we're like 50 or 60-year-olds and the new 15 or 20-something-year-olds are going to be a thing, we're going to probably think that they're ruining society, or, oh my God, society has fallen so much, they're literally walking around naked or something. I don't know. Who cares? It's just part of the evolutionary process, ladies and gentlemen. So if you think we're doomed, that's fine. Just don't be an asshole about it. And that is my rant on boomers. Good day. Now let's get back to what I feel about boomers within the furry fandom. Now, since we have kind of a thing about how we don't really have that many 40 or 50-year-olds within the fandom, I guess it would make more so sense to kind of consider 30 plus or mid 30-year-old people within the fandom to really be considered the boomers now, because you've had people who have been influential people within the furry fandom back in the early 2000s who were way younger. They were either teenagers or they were either like early 20-somethings, and now they're getting to like mid 30s and they're starting to have their own kids, or they're pushing on even 40. So yeah, it kind of would make sense that you could be like, they could be considered boomers, and now we have the newer people coming in who are like in their early 20s or late teens, and they're kind of considered the new young fresh faces of the furry fandom. So you could maybe kind of consider like passing on the torch to the new people. That sounds so stupid. Oh my God. Passing on the furry gift torch. Oh my God. But in a way, you can kind of see it relate in many different fandoms or communities that are still going on to this day. Like YouTube, for example, there is starting to be a growing thing of a belief of boomer YouTubers, where they were YouTubers who were way popular back in the years of like 2008 to 2012. And now they're way older or significantly older, and they're starting to start their own families and not really make videos anymore and moving on to something else. Like Ray William Johnson, for example. He was a huge YouTuber back in the day, was #1 most subscribed around nearly 10 years ago, and now he works for Netflix and doesn't make videos anymore. And now we have newer YouTubers that are young and fresh and making new content that's more popular now, and you can kind of see it. Like, I remember myself, like when I first started watching YouTube back in 2008, I remember these people that I would watch would be probably a little bit older than me by like maybe 8 or 9 years. I would see that these YouTubers would be about late teenager, like 18, 19 years old in college or early 20s, and they would be making new videos and they would be growing really huge on YouTube. And I was about 10 years old at the time, and now I'm 22 years old in the year 2020, and I see these YouTubers, and some of them still make videos, but some don't, and you can kind of see pictures of them now these days, and they look significantly different. They look way older. They're pushing on like mid 30s to early 40s, and they're starting to have kids in their own families. Like Vsauce Michael just had a kid like a year ago. So it's just kind of crazy just seeing like this, again, evolutionary process, I guess, and just this kind of like move on of like passing the torch in a way. So yeah, again, it applies back to the furry fandom and seeing how some of these older, more significant furries are kind of getting a little bit older, and now we kind of see these new furries that are like early 20s to mid 20s kind of like take the sphere of like influencing the fandom, and some people are kind of retiring from it once they get to like 35 or 40 and they have their own families to start. But yeah, I just think that's an interesting kind of video. I didn't really want this whole video to be kind of like a rant, because I know the okay boomer thing can be kind of derogatory or kind of have like a bad taste in your mouth when you hear about it, because it's kind of meme-ish and making fun of older people. But more so this applies to boomer furries that are people who have kind of are getting near the end of being within the fandom and kind of just moving on with just being normal people, and just kind of moving on to see who's going to be the next group of influential people, the next generation of furries, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it is. And I just think it's an interesting thing to discuss overall, and I would love to hear your guys' opinions about it in the comments section down below. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video today. If you enjoy my content and want to further help out my channel, please consider donating to me on Patreon as well as my coffee. Also, please consider smashing that like button, turn on the notification bell, and subscribing altogether. Also, remember to check out my main gaming channel known as Seether Cord Games and my no commentary gaming channel known as Seether Chills. All that will be linked down in the description down below. Again, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I've been Seether Cord, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye, everyone. Oh, yeah! Oh my god, we did it! Less than a second left!
How much?
Less than a second! Oh my god, it's gonna show it.
See.
20, oh my god, 0.87 seconds left.
Oh my god. 87 second has 60.
Huh?